Hello everybody and welcome to Coleslaw Cup Round 6 Imola. A very turgid Imola it would seem, not fantastic conditions as forecast before the race. Jacko not joining me today as he has elected to race, so it's just me, Will_abandoned in the commentary booth. I'll just bring up the stream here as well so I can see any comments if there's any input anybody in the chat wants to have. We will pop on the lap data there as well so we can see if anybody's going purple. Looks like the Aston Martin of Nicky is the first car out of the pits. Nicky negotiating the tricky conditions on his outlap, keeping that battery charged up. Of course, don't use any before you start your flying lap. Very difficult conditions out there, but of course that does present opportunities for the drivers that can really get it right. Nicky already struggling a little bit for the rotation there. And out of the final corner he goes. Of course, no DRS in these conditions, far too dangerous for that. Approaching turn 1, he's going to be setting down the benchmark for this sector in a few corners. Very cautiously negotiating the first chicane, I must admit. But of course, that's what you've got to do on your bank lap. You don't want to throw the entire lap away straight off the bat. As he crosses the line, 1:27.5. We will see soon enough if that ends up being a good or a bad time. Of course, it will be a banker time, I'm sure. Nicky far too wise to go full beans straight out the gate. Like, you know, who are we talking about here? Dace? Talking about Dace. There's a little bit of traffic here. I'm not sure if he's on a flying lap. I think he is actually. Yes, he has his ERS going, so he's stuck behind what seems to be either Cam Tizzle or KB as he manages to go purple. So Nicky wasn't quite laying down the gauntlet there in Sector 1. That's likely to be in the pits. He's trying not to get held up here as the Alfa Romeo does peel off the track. That was KB. Let's hop on board with Nicky as he does cross the line to set a 1:26.2. Hop over to A-Dub as he crosses the line at 1:25.0, so he sets down the time to beat so far. But Dace is going to see the final corner. He's going quick through that first sector. Elmer Jacko jumps up with a 24.7 up into P1. Can Dace beat it? No, he can't. He goes P3, just behind the Mercedes driver that do be going Burr in the rain. Jacko, of course, having never won a league race at Imola. One of the only, if not the only tracks on the current calendar that he hasn't done that, so I'm sure he's been practicing hard all week. He's going to be eager to break that spell. Texas Tornado now as well. I'm not sure if he is on a push lap. The ERS charge looking a little bit higher, and he's not actually deploying any as Slayer crosses the line here. He puts himself P10 with his fastest time. Scornsey beating the fastest first sector time. Of course, one of the quickest drivers in the league. Definitely a title contender, although he hasn't got off to a perfect start so far this season. Still a pretty good start. Just only by Scornsy standards is it anywhere near lackluster. Coleslaw sneaking in a time there as well under the radar that I happened to miss. Good time though from the Red Bull driver with 124.9. KB put himself up into P5 with a 125 flat. Hopefully his the hat there, yep, doesn't block Scornsy on his flying lap. It does look to be a quick one as he negotiates the final corner. Power down, it's a straight run up to the line on his second consecutive hot lap, I think this is. He crosses the line, does go P1, beats Almajaco's time by just over a tenth and a half, just shy of 2/10 of a second there. Separates P1 and 2. Lanzi though going purple as well, so the drivers quickly finding more pace as they try and get closer and closer to the limit. You see this a lot in the wet, people are very cautious to start off with. They've got to find where the grip is, they've got to find where the limit is. And then as the session goes on, they get closer and closer to that limit. And McLaren having to go off track there to avoid blocking Lanzi, but you got to do what you got to do, and that was Almajaco. GSR Edwin looks to be on a hot lap as well. Rounding the final corner. Puts himself up into P8. Jersey setting a purple middle sector there as well. Hopefully that's not a glitch. 0.6 of a second up. He hasn't invalidated there through that chicane, which is very difficult to negotiate sometimes, as Dace puts in the fastest time so far. A 1:24.4 blows Mystic's time out of the water by 0.2 of a second. Jersey taking quite a lot of curb through those two corners there, the double left-handers, and rounding the final slight curve, if you even want to call it that, and he doesn't manage to beat his time, only 3/100ths of a second off it. We've got Kalimov here pushing in the Williams, man in the curb on the right hand side, and then on the left hand side, and then on the right hand side again. He's all over the place finding the grip and finding all of the track to carry as much speed as he can, as Lightwork sets a 1:24.3. Can Kalimov beat it? Not quite. A 1:24.7 from Brooklyn Robert. Easy Yowie yet to set a time, approaching turn 1. He's going to be looking to change that, I think. Giving it all the beans through sector 1. A little bit squirrely, but you can really find some pace keeping it just on that edge. And it does look to be on a knife edge right now. Maybe he went slightly over the optimal level of aggression there. But he's managed to bring it back together and not moving his lap. Dusty on a slow outlap. He's got a car behind him that is an Alpine of Lanzi, I think. It is also on an outlap, so that's not a case of blocking there as Texas Tornado approaches the line. He's going to finish his lap and jump to P14. I think he just leapfrogged Nicky there. I'm not 100% sure, but Nicky is up on his time, and he has something to say about that. Trying to catch the world's most insignificant toe from the Williams there, but you know, every little helps. He's from Wisconsin, some might say he was milking it a bit there. Through the final corner we go with Nicky, and he jumps up to P12. Tells Texas exactly what he thinks about that lap time. Easy Radiowi did manage to complete that lap, puts him ahead of the two AlphaTauris for the time being, but Dusty Lusky, I would imagine, is not going to be staying there for very long. However, he does struggle, I think, with the assists sometimes. He has been trying to take off, I believe, it's traction control, as well as ABS actually. So difficult conditions for somebody to adapt to if you haven't gotten yourself super familiar with driving without certain assists. It can be a steep learning curve in these difficult conditions. Second, third and fourth all in the pit lane now. I say that as Dace emerges. Dace, of course, one of the favourites for pole. Also one of the favourites of the wall. The walls do quite seem to like him and gives him lots of bugs. We will see if he can avert disaster in qualifying on the race. I'd imagine Dace would finish pretty well if he got a clean race in, although we have to go back in the archives to try and find an example of one. Light work going on a little adventure there. He hasn't made light work of that corner, he's gone straight on as if there wasn't even a braking zone there. That's one way to let your teammate by. I'd imagine he'll be pitting this lap. Didn't quite get the optimal run onto the straight there, so into the pits ventures light work. Guernsey pushing as he reaches the chicane, or is he? No, I think he might be charging up his battery because we didn't actually see it depleting there on the run up to the corner. Although he is actually out of fuel, so he's going to be hitting this lap as we see the yellow flag that is for Scornsey. Dace concluding his outlap now. 100% of the battery remaining, he's ready to really give it some now. Controlling the car out of the corner. And here he goes, crossing the line to start his lap. P1 and 2, both now in the pit lane. Ryan Rod's out on an outlap, as is El Majako. All drivers that could do very well here today. Through turn 1 and 2 goes Dace. Opening it up quite nicely, then over 3. Keeping it steady on the exit curve. And into this fast chicane he goes. It's going to be very difficult, especially in the wet. He keeps it all within the lines, keeps it all stable, and he's almost 3/10 up on his time. So right now that would provisionally give him a 1:24.1, which would be enough to grab provisional pole back off of light work. So we want to improve a little bit more than that, really put some distance between him and the potential P2 as he runs wide there. Gets away with it. We might have to get the VAR on that one, as Calirob sneaks under the radar. A 1:24.1. Great lap there by the Williams driver, putting himself squarely in the running. As Lanzi says, I don't think so. I'm going to go into the 1:23s for the first time in this session with a 1:23.973. Dace in sector 3, all the threes around. It's like a Max Verstappen's 33rd birthday party. Through the final couple of corners negotiates Dace, the flying fish loving the wet conditions, it seems. And across the line, can't improve, so he's made a mistake in there somewhere that I've missed. Unfortunately, Ryan Rod's making his way through sector 2, the Ferrari driver, on his what looks to be another warm-up lap perhaps, because he hasn't been using the DRS. He approaches the chicane. Ada putting himself up to P3, the Mercedes driver, putting in a very respectable lap time there as he clumps out of fuel, approaching the first corner. El Majako on a hot lap as well, hooking himself over that left-hand curve. He will keep the traction steady coming out of here. It's always a very challenging traction zone, but he does just that, and here he goes, almost 2/10 up as he approaches the chicane. Through the right, through the left. Powering down now to the last little sequence of corners. He needs to get this right now if he wants to have a chance at throwing that McLaren further up the grid. Controlling the car well and keeping it within the bounds of the circuit, as you must do, of course, in qualifying. Keeping it tight to the right-hand side, and that puts him up into P3 provisionally. A-Dub doesn't look like he's going to be able to set a time. I don't believe there's enough time remaining. Scornsey is certainly going to try. Lanzi and Calirob both in the pit, so they have done their lap times. Dace might be pushing again here. Just 3/10 off on that lap. He's got a lot of fuel in him. I'm not sure exactly how long is left on the clock, unfortunately, as is the way the yellow flags work in this game. And by work, I mean don't at all work in the slightest. KB approaching on his outlap as well, so he certainly seems to think he has enough time to get around, so maybe Dace does just have enough time. Charge up the battery, go for another run, because right now he hasn't got a tremendous amount of battery charge. He didn't start that lap anyway. It does seem like his dash is saying that he has a few laps of fuel remaining. Maybe he's put a little bit too much fuel in fact. Coleslaw on his outlap to Kraut Salat, wanting to be higher than Peace Wolf, I think. The Saudi Arabian driver that is definitely from Saudi Arabia. Here comes the Texas Tornado. Hopefully not going to be doing as much rotation as a real Tornado, but he certainly seems to be getting enough rotation to get him through these corners at a good rate of speed. And oh my goodness me, he's just got an EF5 mode on us. I feel like I'm partly to blame for that one. Let's hope he doesn't watch the stream back. Anyway, here comes Easy Rider Yowie. He wants to elevate himself up off that P18 spot. That's not where you want to be. Of course, it's essentially last of the people that set times as VTech. I mean, VTech wants to keep it fair for everybody else. If VTech set a time, it'll all be over. P16, Easy Rider Yowie jumps up ahead of the AlphaTauri drivers. He wasn't having a great time of it out there, I must admit. Hydrophobic Red Bull Junior team. And here comes Lanzi. I don't believe he set a faster time there. Nope, he's going to be starting a fast lap now. Calirob doing the same. Elmer Jacko has invalidated, however he has more than enough time, I believe, to actually go ahead and set a time as KB jumps him up into P3 with a 124.203. Decent time there from KB, showing that he is certainly a driver that the other guys need to be thinking about. Lanzi and Calirob, two of the drivers battling it out for pole position here, and they're very close together on track. Calirob just far enough back, I believe, that he should survive any effects of the dirty air. The time remaining now to finish your lap before the end of the session. You can't start another flying lap as Ryan Rods concludes his flying lap, a 1:23.7. Jumping up to provisional pole as Lanzi does take too much curb on the inside there, pushing a little bit too much, and Calirob doesn't take enough. Calamitous for P2 and P3. Ryan Rods may well sneak this one in there. Jacko has invalidated as well, but he won't be doing anything about it either. He's going to be starting at the very most P5. Scornsy and AW both have concluded their qualifying as well. NFS light work though, he's 3/10 up. He's pushing like hell. I don't think he can challenge for pole position unless he pulls the cat right out of the hat here. He crosses the line, he's going to jump up, but it's only good enough for P2. Just pipping Lanzi to the post. Nicky retiring from the session in the pits as well. That makes a good change from where he usually retires it. Jersey pushing just under 2/10 off his fastest time so far. Dace managing to get P4 as well. It's a good showing from the Flying Fish here in difficult wet conditions. He might not be able to swim, but that session has gone swimmingly for him. Jersey's crossed the line now to conclude his flying lap, and he can't improve his grid position, unfortunately. So that's going to run off a grid. Ryan Rods takes a maybe not so surprising pole position with NFS light work just behind him as well, showing his tremendous pace. Lanzi always up there in and amongst the podium positions. He manages to put himself P3. And of course, Dace Flying Fish grabbing P4 here in qualifying. And that's going to be Calirob in P5. KB, Mr. Jamaica, P6 with a 124.2 with GSR Edwin, Mr. Worldwide behind him. Jacko P8. He's got a lot of work to do if he wants to take his maiden Imola win. Scornsy P9, not where he'd want to be. Continues that not so Scornsy-esque beginning to the season. A-Dub taking home for the grid. Shreya Coleslaw there in P11 with Bursey P12. Cam Tizzle in P13 with the Curse Texas Tornado in P14. Then Nikki, Dusty, Easy Rider Yowie and Slayer Eyes round off the guys that set the times. And VTech starts last, having not bothered because he wants to keep it fair for the competition, alright guys? You can't have VTech starting P1. You get about 3 laps in. Race is done. I hope everyone is ready for the race. I am. I've got my duvet. I've got my bottle of Pepsi Max. Talking about bottle, Dace can be happy with that P4. I think in qualifying he's got scope to move into the race. A wet start again here in this session, so the pace may well carry over from qualifying. I hope the drivers have really nailed a wet setup here. You don't want to be out there on a setup that doesn't suit the conditions. However, you'd think from some of the curbs, namely the chicanes, I would say you're going to be probably trying to run pretty high ride height anyway, which does help in the wet, of course. Lifts the bottom of the car up away from any standing water that may be present on the circuit. The last thing you want to do is bottom out an aquaplane. Now, of course, the time for the drivers to prepare their setups, to get their strategy ready. Of course, not much scope of what you can do with the setups at this point. However, there are small changes you can make towards tyre pressures and to the front wing, most namely. Interesting to see the nearest occupied garage being garage 22, so I assume garage 1 and 2 is actually taken up by the safety and the medical car. Which is a pretty interesting thing to note. You know, you notice these things when you're waiting for people to ready up, but this is a good thing. It means people aren't readying up prematurely. That seemed like a very reasonable time to start the countdown for getting this race underway. Of course, we will start with a formation lap, barring any last minute unannounced and accidental changes to the race schedule. And here we are. Formation lap begins. 32 laps here await us at the Imola circuit. Ryan Rod's leading us away. We've got light work just behind him in the Alfa Romeo. Behind him is Lanzi. Dace follows him just behind as well. Calirob looking to make an impact in what may well be, I believe, his first Coleslaw Cup race. So welcome to Coleslaw Cup, Calirob. Calirob, absolutely a driver that can challenge for wins. KB just behind him in the Alfa Romeo. Hopefully he has an incident-free race, as he's not a big fan of recording his POV. Just behind him we have GSR Edwin, _3, can't forget that. Attention to detail, ladies and gentlemen. Mama Jacko just behind him. Then we have Scornsy, P8, P9. It's a rivalry as old as time. That's going to be an interesting one to watch. Jacko will want to get his elbows out, I think, because he really does want the win here today, but also he's the type of driver that likes to make smart decisions, likes to be the wily, sly driver that can pick up the positions through being in the right place at the right time. A-Dub P10, Sharia P11. Burzy in the Haas. Showed glimpses of some real pace in qualifying, did Burzy. It didn't quite pan out for him, unfortunately, but I'd keep an eye on him for the race, starting it down there in P12. Maybe he can make an impact. Cam Tizzle P13, Texas Tornado P14, and for my what lap will Dace bottle it? I'm going to go lap 2. I'm going to go lap 2 this time. I, of course, went with lap 6, I believe, last race, and I got that right as he sped into the pit lane. We'll see. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Hopefully, he doesn't bottle it at all. Let's, fingers crossed. I've got high expectations for Calirob as well. A very aggressive position in the pit box there from Lanzi. As we go to 5 red lights. With a fantastic camera angle, it's lights out and away we go. Raymond's getting a good start. Light work, not so much. Getting a little bit of oversteer there. And Lanzi may look to challenge it. Dace in behind them as well. He might take it cautiously. Nope, he won't. He'll tap the back of Lanzi there, but they get away with it. Fighting as well as Calirob and Scornsy and Almajaka, sorry, side by side. Approaching the chicane. Raymond seems pretty uncontested there at the front. Texas Tornado has once again initiated some rotation. He seems to be having a bad time of it, but it's very early days. KB in P5, he's fighting with Dace for that P4 position. Lightwork may be looking like he's under a slight bit of threat as well from Lanzi. KB will want to make a move if he can, however it's not the easiest circuit to overtake here unless you're going down that main straight where the DRS is very powerful. However, that's quite possible that's just not going to be a factor here today as well, depending on how the conditions develop. The inevitable scrapping in the midfield as well. The cars very close together here. Easy Rider Yoey watches on as he sees Cam Tizzle applying the pressure to Sharia Coleslaw, who defended like an absolute lion in Portimao, as Ryan Woods of course sets the fastest lap of the race, crossing the line first, already escaping a second of light work. He seems to have some real pace around here. He may well be insurmountable, honestly, unless he makes an error. P3 is Lanzi. Hopefully our time and boards will sort themselves out at some point. It's this game, you know how it is. Lanzi may have run a little bit wide there. Just managed to keep himself on the line, perhaps. He'll be hoping so. You don't want to be picking up a warning on lap 2, of course. You only get 3 of them. And that's a 5-second time penalty. We've got Slayerized and Nicky going for it as well. Slayerized getting past Nicky. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. That was a very unorthodox place to overtake. Could have been a very impressive overtake, or it could have been a mistake. We don't know. Dusty trying to keep the pressure on Nicky. Anyway, up in the top 5, things have settled down pretty nicely. It looks like I will, fortunately, be wrong about the day's prediction. I do hope so, because I hope he can get a race finish under his belt. He does need it, and a strong points haul would be just what the doctor ordered. Ryan Mods and Lightwork keeping a similar gap. Lightwork just a little bit quicker through that lap. Of course, as you see, he picked up the fastest lap time of the race so far. But it's not by much. Seems to me like Ryan Mods is just sort of managing his pace here, not wanting to make a mistake, but also making sure he's got enough pace just to keep Lightwork at bay. It may well be that Lightwork actually made a mistake, if anything, because he's now over a second and a half off P1. Calirob 3 tenths behind KB. A-Dub putting the pressure here on Edwin, or at least hoping to. Does traction control go Bura in the wet? We shall soon find out. Calirob showing good pace as well in the top 6. He's got Scornsy as well just behind him, and Almajaka in the McLaren behind him. just over half a second back from KB, who was starting to lose touch from Dace. He had a little spell in the first couple of laps where he seemed to be really challenging the Flying Fish, but since then, Dace has slipped away a little bit. Ryan Rod's increasing his advantage in the lead as that whole group starts to just pull away from each other a little bit. But who is not pulling away? That's going to be Nicky, Dusty, VTech and Texas Tornado, who's done a fantastic job of catching back up after that abysmal start to the race. He doesn't seem to have damage, or at least nothing too significant, not on the front wing anyway. And yeah, credit to Texas Tornado. This is going to be an interesting recovery drive from him. Calibob's still a little bit close to KB. Nothing worth getting super excited about just right at this second, but it's something to keep an eye on actually. The gap to Scornsy from Calirob is dropping kind of low as well, down low 4/10 of a second for a little bit there through a few of those corners. Of course, this isn't the place where you need to be close though. It's coming out of that final corner, but let's go on board with Scornsy actually, because he really is putting the pressure on Calirob now, who in turn is having to pick up the pace, try and put some pressure on KB. Scornsy using the ERS there as well to try and keep close to Calirob. He does want to make that move, you can tell. You can see the intent from that Scarlet Red Ferrari. Lightwork setting the fastest lap as Ryan was, and Lightwork just trade past the lap. They're just disappearing out front. It does seem to be a two-horse race, one of which is a prancing horse. One of which doesn't seem to be prancing too much down the straight. Seems to be losing a good 3 or 4 tenths down the straight each lap, something I've noticed. So yeah, perhaps the prancing horse really likes to stretch its legs down the straight, and Calirob does let Scornsy pass there, quite possibly. It looks like maybe Scornsy challenged him into the corner. Calirob decided it wasn't worth it. I apologise for that, for missing that. That was a mistake on my end. Calirob now finds himself under pressure from Elmajaka. Calirob survived down the straight, and I thought that would likely be it for the rest of the lap, but no. Scornsy, ever the opportunist, managed to sneak his way past Calirob coming out of turn 2. Calirob losing touch as well with Scornsy pretty quickly. Scornsy will be on in the chase after KB and close up to him if possible. GSR Edwin also getting a little bit involved here with this little trio. Slayer trying to put pressure on Easy Rider Yowie. Ryan Mods and Lightwork trading the fastest lap as per usual. What else is new? Scornsy already closing right up to the back of KB. Not quite using the ERS, but maybe he doesn't need to. He's tucked up in the slipstream. He goes to the inside, he thinks about it. He fills KB's mirrors with red, shows him he's there, but doesn't manage to make a move, although I feel with the ERS, maybe he actually could have there. Maybe he didn't quite anticipate how quickly he would catch up. The rain has now stopped as well. The track, I'm sure, will be beginning to dry up really quickly. The drivers will be feeling the difference lap after lap, I would imagine. Elmajaka using a little bit of the ERS there just to try and keep in touch with Calirob. Scornsy less than half a second behind KB. Yeah, so Scornsy putting the pressure on KB. Just like Edwin picking up the 3-second fine penalty at the first of the race. The Slayer Riders keeps trying to put the pressure on Easy Rider Yowie as well. Now, one interesting thing is that gap up front is less than a second on Lightwork pits. Lightwork has boxed and everyone else has boxed too. Could it perhaps be that the DRS was activated, but it was activated after Ryan Rods had crossed the pit entry, had gone past the pit entry line, meaning he sees the signal that certifies that the crossover point has passed, it should be on the drive, but he can't do anything about it until the next lap. Calirob, however, did have the choice. He decided to stay out, Dace his teammate, so I assume that's to avoid the double stack. Very unfortunate for him though. a few people swapping positions in the pit stages. Dusty and VTEC are now neck and neck. Actually, they didn't even come out. They're just still there on the intermediate tyres. The VTEC would have had the DRS, perhaps. I don't 100% know. There's the DRS enabled. Okay, so that was an early call, slightly early call from the guys behind Ryan Rhodes. Maybe not as cut and dry as I thought it may have been. However, the track looks so dry and you do gain so much time on those slick tyres if the track is working for you. VTEC all over the back of Dusty, who does seem to be struggling a little bit. He struggled for pace in qualifying and he's struggling for pace in the race. What a fall from grace, unfortunately, there for Dusty, who was up there and challenging last time around and last season. Raimund's into the pits. We have a look at who has made their pit stops. Lightwork, of course, the guy that was in P2 before the pit stops. Will he be in P2 after the pit stops? Calibre pitting as well, he will inevitably drop down the order. The question is, as VTEC sets the fastest lap and maybe gives us an indication of the conditions, who makes it out first here? It's Raimund. Raimund has gained time on that strategy, so what can Calibob do? Can he maybe jump up a couple of positions? He's going to be P6. There's a group of cars fighting there, Scornsy being one of them, KB being the other, and Elmer Jacko along for the ride as well, nearly getting forced off track, going side by side with KB, and they do touch. Difficult to tell there if anybody was at fault for that. It did seem that perhaps it was a racing incident. Jacko trying to hang it around the outside when the gap was ever so closing, and Lightwork now right on the back of Ryan Rhodes. Of course, Lightwork with those warm tyres, he's had a lap to heat them up. Ryan Rhodes has not, and the DRS is very, very powerful here, so Lightwork could find himself elevating himself against provisional P1. Of course, VTEC does have to pit. VTEC always with his interesting strategies. Lightwork fading to the inside there, just to remind Ryan, if you didn't already know, there is a very green car behind you, and it is very close. Of course, past the detection point. There you go, Raimund's getting a little wide there. Going to put him perhaps under some pressure, some extra pressure that you didn't need. He's got enough pressure already. With the DRS, with the ERS, with the fastest lap, with the slipstream, with the talents, with everything. Here goes Lightwork. Past Raimund and up into provisional P1. VTEC pitting, and that makes it actual P1. Dace and Lanzi very close together as well. Lanzi could try the up and under here. Can he maybe nail Dace on the exit, as Dace had a much tighter line? Lanzi is using his ERS, he's getting ambitious. I like it when Lanzi lets the Dutch line roar. Can't get close enough to do anything through the chicane. Elmer Jacko keeping close to KB after their little scuffle. I would imagine Jacko likely escaped that without any sort of damage. He would be rather unfortunate if he were to have collected damage from that slight, shall we say, altercation. Scornsy now has clean air to chase after Lanzi, who in turn is chasing after Dave. Jersey J getting a little bit close to Camp Sizzle as well, so that we need to keep our eyes on. Dusty close to VTEC as well. Texas Tornado just behind them, and by just behind them I mean almost alongside. Texas Tornado very close to the back of Dusty there as they set the fastest lap. A little bit early there, but let's go back to the front, because here goes Raimund around the outside of Lightwork. They're going to be neck and neck, side by side. Lightwork is still in there. Who emerges ahead? It's Lightwork, but only by a touch. They're still side by side here going into the chicane. Is anybody going to back out? Nope, neither of them are, and they are somehow going to keep that clean. Incredibly impressive from those two drivers. A lot of people would have gotten themselves into a spot of bother through that chicane. It's incredibly difficult to go side by side through there, but Raimund and Lightwork both showing why they are P1 and P2. Both fantastic drivers, although stunts like that, they are great for the stream, but they are going to slow you down a little bit, so Dace will be watching that with a very keen interest. Track now, of course, completely dry, the sun out. Scornsy getting himself a little wide there, putting himself under pressure from KB. KB, of course, will have the DRS as well if he can keep that distance behind Scornsy. Sharia going only ever so slightly wide. Shouldn't pose too much of a problem for him. Let's hop back up to the front because we may well see another change of position. He's going to have the DRS here, Ryan Woods, as we watch on into the distance. Here he goes. It's going to be the outside again, but this time he's a little bit more alongside. Lightwork tries the switchback. Brilliant driving from both of them here. Lightwork though not quite managing to get him on the exit. He looks to maybe make a move on the inside, but I think he thinks better of it. He probably sees Dace in his mirror and knows that if they get into a little spot of bother, he'll be straight by them. And here comes Sharia Coleslaw trying to slingshot his way back around the outside after being overtaken by Cantizzle. They almost touched there. I can't see Sharia sending it down the inside of the chicane here. That would be maybe a little bit too aggressive there. He might be in Max's car, but I don't think he is. No? Lightwork keeping close tabs on Ryan Rods as if he were under investigation through Aqua Minerale, the old mineral water corner. Very creatively named. Dace on the back of Lightwork. Got Lantic Company as well. The top four not separated by very much time at all. We will watch from Dace's perspective. Dace not with enough battery to really try and make a move, I don't think, but he has the DRS. He's going to have a beautiful view of Lightwork ahead of him and a potential challenge on Ryan Watson. It doesn't look like it's going to be coming this lap. Lightwork just too far behind, even with the incredibly powerful DRS of this track. He can't make a move, and Elmer Jacko finding the frustration of the DRS train here as he could maybe have looked at making a move on KB had DRS not been in KB's favour there, but with them both having DRS they essentially cancel each other out and you just have a slipstream, and that's not enough for him on this occasion. Jersey and Slayer got a little bit close together as well there, but by the time we caught up to them and their incredible speed, they had stretched themselves out a little bit. Lightwork still keeping close to Ryan Watts as we once again join them through mineral water. Dace just behind them, only 4/10 separating him and the Aston Martin driver ahead. Looks like Ryan Watts just gets a slightly better run of it through that chicane. Slayerized, finding himself in a spot of bother, managing to get himself off the track, and hopefully he won't be an issue for anyone else. But let's go back to the front. Rosie J also putting the pressure on Sharia Coleslaw. We may well hop over to them when they get towards the straight, because that could be an overtake. Texas Tornado, pressure on Dusty Husky as well. Unfortunately for Lightwork, he still isn't quite close enough to make that move on Ryan Watson he's been wanting to make. Jersey could well be making one here on Sharia, who is low on ERS and doesn't have the DRS to defend. But what is going on with Jersey's wing? Has he not depreciated the throttle properly? Or what's happening? Because you have the full DRS there, slipstream as well. Couldn't gain time, but Sharia's made a little mistake there. He's been a hash of that chicane. It slowed him up a little bit, but not enough. Texas Tornado getting himself past Dusty, who doesn't seem to have an answer for the Mercedes man on this occasion. Running wide there is Texas Tornado. Needs to be careful, he doesn't want to pick up any warnings that could perhaps give him a penalty. Jersey J still on the back of Sharia Coleslaw. Interesting there how Sharia carries a little bit more entry speed and suffers on the exit, whereas Jersey does the inverse and sacrifices entry for exit speed, but of course you're straight back into another right-hander. So I think both lines seem pretty equally matched. Let's hop back up to the KB Scornsey Elmer Jacko train. Yep, still nothing going on. Let's hop over to Dave. He's trying to put a little bit of pressure on Lightwork. Still quite low on ERS though, whereas Lightwork is most certainly not in that situation. However, he has lost the ERS to Ryan, but he needs to push. He needs to really push now. Try and get back within that 1 second window of Ryan. He has the ERS to use to try and supplement his pace and get him back up there. Jersey still all over the back of Sharia Coleslaw. still not able to make a move down the straight, but look how close he is. He's practically pushing Sharia through these corners. And he gets a fantastic exit here, but again it's into a corner where it would not be wise to attack Sharia, taking a slightly defensive line there as well, enough to completely disinterest Thursday in making a move down the inside, which I think is for the best. It's not usually a wise move to make. Sharia and Thursday now coming out of the chicane on the run down to the final complex of corners. Dace getting a little bit close to Lightwork there, but like on the mini-map he just gained this slightly. Of course, Lightwork didn't manage to get that DRS back, so he's going to be under a lot of pressure here from Dace. There's a massive straight line speed advantage, as does KB and Amajaka over Scornsy, but they can't make anything happen. And Dace has managed to make his way past Lightwork in an incredibly unlikely spot. Lanzi now wants to maybe do the same, compile the misery and thoroughly dump it on the head of Lightwork. Not able to do that. Unfortunately though for the Dutchman, he's going to remain P4 for the time being. We've got a spin there as well. It's not Edwin, but oh, it is Edwin, sorry. It is Edwin. Edwin in the wall. Takes out the advertising hoardings as well. Calirob running a pretty lonely race. We've not seen much of him since around the beginning. Edwin, it looked like he tapped the wall, but maybe he just avoided it, and any debris there was just from the advertising hoarding and not from his car. Thursday's still all over Sharia. KP's car seems to be struggling ever so slightly with understeer. Does look like the front is trying to hold on as the rear pushes it through the corner. Lightwork not quite able to put enough pressure on Dace to make a move. KB in the exact same situation. Now is Thursday in the same boat. Hopefully the Haas isn't a boat, although that would have been helpful about 14 laps ago. Yeah, Bursey in a Red Bull sandwich, which doesn't sound like a meal anyone other than Kate Thomas would enjoy. Ooh, KB running very wide there. He's really pushing that Alfa Romeo, but he's got to be careful he doesn't pick up any penalties. As soon as he gets that 3 second, he's going to be jumped behind Jacko, and he's just done it again there, run wide. Putting himself under a lot of pressure here. Elmer Jacko, who is not usually one to get penalties, who I just need to stop talking about people. He's just almost missed the entire corner. There has Elmer Jacko, but he's recovered. He stayed within the DRS range as well, which is the most important thing. For better or for worse in modern F1, this is the reality of the situation in which we find ourselves. Yellow flags there as well for Nicky, who seems to have had a spin. Still close for P2 and P3. Great work, not letting Dace scamper ahead too far. Jacko very quickly catching up to the back of KB after making that mistake as well, so it seems KB does not have the pace to drop Elmer Jacko at all, even if DRS wasn't a factor. And we look back to see Thursday still employed as the Red Bull gearbox inspector. Easy Rider Yoey not having an Easy Rider things out there as he drops himself down to P14 with what seems to be a mistake of his own. Lightwork looking slightly too far behind Ace to think of making a move into the corner, but he does have his ERS saved right off. You will be able to see the flashing light of Dace's Williams in certain areas of the track where his DRS will dip below that 10% threshold. Jacko looking to maybe make a move on KB. This could be the time. But he doesn't manage to, as Dusty seems to have had a spin as well there, coming out of the final corner. Mickey getting past Texas Tornado as well. They may still be side by side actually. No, Texas Tornado has ceded that position unfortunately for him. I think I might need to stop looking at Jacko through that chicane. Maybe he went too deep last time. Maybe he thought, let's just turn in 20 metres early. I don't know. Can't go too deep if you just turn in too early. Can't argue with the logic. He could still look to make a move on KB. He does get awfully close into the corner, and KB is now outside of the second of this. You would think as soon as Scornsy is able to drop that second to KB, which it seems like he has now done, KB is sitting duck down the straight. However, he does have some decent pace, so if he does get overtaken, I'd imagine he can stick with Helmut Jacko, and then perhaps even think about re-overtaking him down the straight with the DRS. That would of course speed them both up because of the effect of the DRS, and maybe they'll be back on the back of Mr. Joker, aka Scornsy, all over again as Ryan Rod's in the lead, picks up a 3-second time penalty, multiple warnings. He has a clean slate now though, 3 more warnings until another penalty, so I'm sure he'll be using 2 of those warnings to really push, because he's got to build that 3-second gap now to Dace. It's only at 2.1 seconds as it stands, so Net P1 is actually positioned with flying pitch that can't swim and find himself here. Helmut Jacko now all over the back of KB as predicted, and KB actually decides to pit. He doesn't want that beef. He doesn't want that, would it be beef? Kangaroo steak? Doesn't want it. Carlo gets past Ada as well. Yep, Ada and KB pitting there on the 2-stop. That's something I hadn't even considered as of yet, so much going on. Ryan Rod's on the hard compound tyre, looking to go to the end, I'd imagine. VTech jumping up a few positions there as the guys around him pit. Percy still pushing Coleslaw around. He needs to stop pushing him around by being too close and start pushing him around and then getting his elbows out and making him overtake, but he just doesn't seem interested. Maybe he's too scared to attack the namesake of the league. Your powerful Coleslaw. Ooh, and he nearly loses it there, actually does Bursey. Those medium tyres perhaps starting to go as he doesn't quite have the pace, and here come the pit stops. Dace pits off of those mediums, and Ryan Rod's pits off of those hards onto mediums. Okay, this is interesting. What's Dace going to go for here? As Helmut Jacko picks up a 5-second time penalty for speed in the pit lane, Dace goes onto a second set of mediums, so it does seem like mediums were the right call, not the hards, at least in the context of Dace and Ryan Rod's. Dace now right behind Ryan, although they will be separated by at least the car of Cam Tizzle and actually the car of Sharir Coleslaw as well. I'm sure Sharir will find himself under a lot of pressure from Dace almost instantaneously. Charlie Robert now finding himself elevated up into P4 in his debut. Bursey getting past Dace, who has seemed to have made a mistake there. Not what he would have wanted to do. We've got a spin as well at turn 1, which seems to be Mickey, and it's certainly not light work. I find himself tapping below Dusty Lusky there. He'd be all over the back of Helmut Jacko as well now. KB with a slightly warmer tyres, of course, as he pitted slightly earlier. Light work comes into the pits as well. Rob inheriting a P3 overall. Sharir trying to put a little bit of pressure on Cam Tizzle. Where will Lightwork emerge? He's going to be behind Sharia, but he's going to be ahead of Dace after that mistake from Dace. He had a possibility to win. I would say the win was in the bag if it wasn't for the cars in between him and Ryan Rodds, which of course were going to present a big hurdle to Dace. And he had to clear them and keep within a few seconds of Ryan Rodds, and then stop the incredibly quick Ryan Rodds from falling 2 seconds on him. So it wouldn't have been a straightforward victory in the slightest, but still 10 laps remaining here. Almost a third of this race still yet to play out. Easy Rider Yowie and A-Dub side by side into this uphill left-hander. On the outside is Easy Rider Yowie, on the inside is A-Dub as it turns to the outside, and he has to cede that position, at least for the time being. A-Dub on the fresher tyre, though he will be looking to get past Easy Rider as quickly as possible. He looks down the inside of the chicane but doesn't quite go for it. Lanzi pits as well. Ryan setting the fast spot, not really a surprise considering he's on the fresh tyres and he is incredibly quick. Lanzi is into the pits as well. Let's hop up there and see what's going on with Dace as he is actually battling with Lightwork. Lightwork may be struggling to get those tyres warmed up. Dace takes advantage and sneaks on past into turn 1. Lightwork gets a better exit. He could even look down the inside, but I think he's going to be too far back. Dace now needs to get a move on, get past Campson, will get past Sharia Coleslaw, put cars in between him and Lightwork, because Lightwork I don't think is just going to fade off into oblivion. Easy Radio getting past A-Dub at the expense of a spin there from Texas Tornado. Easy Rider Yowie off the track as well momentarily there, so it looks like they got into a spot of bother as VTEC emerges from the pits to go to P16. Dace all over the back of Cam Tizzle as Dusty gets past A-Dub as well. A lot going on in a very short amount of time here as Sharia also seems to have made a mistake. That's going to back Cam Tizzle up into A-Dub. Into Dace, sorry, I apologise. Dace might want to be using DRS here to actually possibly make a double overtake. Sharia's not going to have a DRS. So I'd imagine Cam Tizzle is actually going to be attacking the Red Bull driver down the straight as Dace attacks the both of them. So this could get spicy into turn 1. I'm not saying another fastest lap. Of course, he's still quite a few laps off Sconesy, who may try and survive 9 laps on his own. Sharia Coleslaw does get overtaken there by Cam Tizzle, but Dace can't make an overtake on either of them, at least not for the moment. Dace might try and nail the exit here and sneak down the inside of the Red Bull driver, but that's going to be no joy, I think there. KB and Almajako fighting, and Almajako nearly loses it. Dips the tyre off the track and loses the position. Lightwork putting the pressure as well on Dace, who is getting backed up by these slower cars ahead. Slower because, of course, that massive tyre delta that Lightwork and Dace both have over the 2 cars ahead of them. It's going to be difficult, I think, for Sconesy and Calimont to take those tyres to the end, but I never say never, it's certainly possible. Sharia putting up an aggressive defence there against Dace, but ultimately successful. Lightwork looking to get past Sharia, squeezing past Sharia, who does not like to be overtaken. You can see that from Portimao. He go to many a length to prevent an overtake, and he's actually done that to his own detriment there. He comes together with Lightwork. He might be putting Lightwork under some pressure here as well. DRS wide open for the Dutchman as he looks to maybe sneak it around the outside, but that's covered off. Campbell boxing as well for the soft tyres. Texas Tornado get past Sharia, who of course has no pit. Possibly with damage, but he would have needed to for tyre strategy quite possibly anyway. He's going to go for soft tyres as well, really get the pace. A lot of swaps of position, a lot of interesting, intriguing battling playing out over the past few laps. It's always great to see. Not referring, of course, to the giant lockup just suffered by Lightwork. Ryan Rod's all over the back of Calirod now with that massive tyre advantage. He needs to get a move on, he needs to get past Calirod, and then he will have 6 laps to catch and then pass Scornsby for the win. The ERS wide open, the ERS deployed. Is Calirod even trying to defend this? I don't think he is. I think he's much wiser than that. I think he knows not to try and defend that because it is ultimately pointless. It's futile. There's nothing you can do there against Ryan Rods, who is on that fresh, still relatively fresh medium compound tyre. Landsy very close to Lightwork as well. On the Jacko and KB added once again. These guys having a great time, or not so great time, no matter how you think of it. Getting a little bit frosty there. KB nearly got forced off, and I think wanted to let Jacko know that he wasn't best pleased. Spin there as well for Nicky. Unfortunately, well, not to draw attention to it or anything, but that did just happen. KB all over the back of Elmer Jacko as well. These two have been inseparable pretty much all of the race. I don't think KB can look at making a move just yet. I think he's obviously just going to wait for the DRS turn, but it's very quickly approaching them. Raimod saying another fastest lap. 7 seconds now between him and P1. Of course, he does have that 3-second time penalty though, which is something that's going to factor into that. It's going to mean he actually needs to gain 10 seconds in 5 laps, which is a tall order. Scornsby has flown under the radar throughout this entire race. He just kept it clean, not gotten into any incidents, and had a consistent, solid pace. And now he's found himself in a position where he may even potentially win this Grand Prix. In fact, you could argue he's the favourite for it. But those hards are going to be just clinging on, I think. Quite possibly. It's difficult to say with a hard tyre though, because sometimes it can just last. And they just feel bulletproof, and you could do another 7 Grand Prix on them. We will see. Grand Prix, sorry, to correct myself there. Slayer getting past there by Sharia Coleslaw, who makes that move very early on in the straight. Really a massive traction advantage there. Finds himself with a long road ahead of him though, was the Appalachian artisanal handcrafted goods expert. Lightwork getting his way past Dace, who tries to hold it in. Someone's to span there as well. It seems to have been GSR Edwin. Dace has to settle behind Lightwork, at least for the time being, and Ryanrod's really isn't gaining very much on Scornsby. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but he's not having a great time of things out there. At least not from the perspective of how this race looked like it could go for him at the start, where he seemed to be on for the win with the pace that he had. Very close here between P11 and P10, but not as close as it is between P7 and P8. It was close, not anymore. Jersey letting both KB and Elmer Jacko past as Dace. There it is. There is El Pronto Spinella from Dace. GSR Edwin, the tyres in the pit. I said lap 2. Maybe I should have been more ambitious. Lap 28. But you know, he's still on for a good finish here. I don't think he has any damage. Just a spin there. He's lost a bit of time. It's lost touch with the guys ahead of him. Well and truly. And getting into it, and Thursday drops below Texas Tornado as well. KB could look to make a move on Elmer Jacko here, but he's just a little bit too far back. He could have made a lunge, but it probably wouldn't have been wise, and it was perhaps a good idea to stay behind. I feel like KB should just be trying to charge that ERS up, because it's not degenerating very quickly here for him, and he won't launch that attack on the penultimate lap. to then get the move done at turn 1 on the final lap. Could be the wise way of doing it, not giving El Majacco a chance to reply. Safe to say El Majacco is not going to grab that maiden Imola win unless maybe a meteorite crashes into the circuit. I'm not 100% sure. I think even then the race would be cancelled and the 90% rule will be met. Unfortunately for the Australian, self-professed lover of the purple buses of Perth, he'll be hoping his McLaren will be a little bit less like a bus if he gets to race here again this season. Although P7 is a very solid result, especially in a league this competitive. I don't think it's what El Majacco quite had a sight set on. KB though has a sight set on P7. Absolutely. He wants to make that move on El Majacco, both with penalties. Let's have a quick look at that. KB's is 6, El Majacco's is 5, which means El Majacco most likely is safe. Scornsey just needs to not mess this up, and he's got this win in the bag. Ryan Rod's 5 seconds behind still. Not quite where he would want to be. Coleslaw though, he might want to make the move on Dusty. Oh, hey there, bud, goes Dusty. Don't go, you pass me there, bud. But he does anyway. Says, I don't speak Canadian. Au revoir. Through goes Coleslaw through the chicane, and he is going to grab that P13 spot. Not the sort of position that Sharia would have seen himself fighting over. It's unfortunate circumstances led to that situation. Of course, some people had their issues as well, and they had it slightly earlier on in the race. It gives you more time to recover, but when you're in a situation like what Sharia was in there, with not so many laps remaining, and you end up in an incident, not much you can do. Lanzi, we watch as he picks up the 3-second time penalty. He's been final race, he gets the cameras on him and the pressure gets to him, and godverdomme, he picks up the 3-second time penalty. We've got yellow flags here. That's just going to be the slow car of Nicky letting the lap traffic go by. He's not having a great time of it. Here's the man from Wisconsin. He's been in the wars today, but they've been civil wars because I think most of his incidents have been self-inflicted. And starting the final lap now is Scornsey. The gap has come down from P1 to P2 pretty significantly actually in the past lap or so, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough. Scornsey just needs to not get a puncture, not run wide, not make a mistake. He can afford to be a little bit slow. He's got the time in hand. There's no need to rush. Calirob, a very lonely P3. He's got Lightwork behind him, but not close enough, I think, to cause him any real concern. But there's a big time advantage actually there from Lightwork, so actually I may have to take back what I just said. Because Lightwork is flying in comparison to Calirob, and he may well actually make a move. Talking about making moves, A-Dub all over the back of VTEC. He will jump back to that P3 fight shortly as A-Dub carries so much speed, he actually has to let off there. He nearly goes straight into the back of VTEC on the corner exit. Texas Tornado already also very close to the back of Cam Tizzle, but this is the fight we want to watch for now as around the outside goes A-Dub. VTEC keeping it down the inside and then keeping it on the outside of the track because he's going to spin completely off. I think everybody managed to avoid him though, and Lightwork now within 2 tenths of Calirob. He's deploying everything. He might look to go down the inside here. He can't quite find an Aston Martin sized gap there on the inside. Can he out-traction Calirob and beat him to the line? Calirob low on ERS, so is Lightwork, and there's nothing Lightwork can do there. Unfortunately for him, as Calirob picks up a maiden podium, gives Ryan a celebratory bonk. Pace crossing the line to claim that P6 as El Majacco takes home a P7. That time penalty added on, but the same goes as well for KB. Cam Tizzle quite far behind that lot. Slayer possibly trying to put some pressure on VTEC, who seems to just be far enough up the road to survive for the rest of the lap. Across the line now goes Cam Tizzle. Just... Oh, had to do that in a very eventful fashion. Thank you very much, Cam Tizzle. Oh, Texas Tornado doing the same. Who isn't going to do it? A-Dub isn't going to do it. Sharir isn't going to do it. Will Dusty do it? Nope. For the first time in this race, Dusty doesn't spin. Crossing the line goes VTech, and then goes Slayer. Easy Rider takes home P16 with Bursey, the man I highlighted as the one to watch. I mean, I should just shut my mouth, shouldn't I, really? Unfortunately there for Bursey. I'm not sure that was a truly representative race of his abilities. Seems he's run out of fuel as well on the final lap. Nicky has retired from F1 late racing. He's playing Lawn Mowing Simulator. Maybe that was one of the deals on the recent end-of-year PlayStation Store deals. Okay, we seem to be... Oh, are we going to get disqualified? Or what are we going to do? We're going to... Ooh, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Across the line we go. And P17. P18, sorry. I had all that time to read the number. Still couldn't do it. VTech picking up driver of the day, of course, the GOAT. Who else would you give it to? Fantastic win there as well by Scornsey. Ryan Rodds did well to hold that there in P2. So I just take a second to clip that race so that we can make the highlights. And I mean, he stayed under the radar for pretty much the entire race, Scornsey. But I mean, this is what he does. This is just what he does. Fantastic result. Ferrari 1-2. May not happen in real life, but at least we're getting in the game. P3 Calibob on his debut. Fantastic result for Brooklyn Robert. Podium celebration. I'm sure Scornsey will be very delighted with that one. They are some of the most rewarding wins. Not necessarily the ones that you have to fight tooth and nail for, but the ones where you just outsmart the opposition entirely. And that's what Scornsey's managed to pull off here today. Ryan Rodds, I'm sure, will be disappointed with that, but if he looks back on it from a championship perspective, that's a good position to finish in. Kylie Robb taking home a very good P3. Ryan Rodds also grabbing the extra point for the fastest lap. Lightwork taking home P4 when it looked like he'd be on for a top 2 finish, possibly a win. Unfortunate for him. Lanzi P5 from P3. Not a great drive. Dace also in the same category of not a great drive, but not terrible either. P4 to P6. Just everything hinged on that one mistake that he made on lap 28 that I'm sure I won't let him forget. Elmer Jacko improves his P8 position, but only by 1 place to P7. KB P8 with Camters of P9. Texas Tornado rounding out the top 10 with Sharir P11. Then A-Dub, then Dusty. Oh, yeah there, Dusty. VTech, Slayer, Easy Rider Yowie, Bursey, and then Nicky rounding out the finishers. We also had GSR Edgar not finish that race as he retired in the pits after getting into numerous calamities. Now I won't unfortunately be able to do the interviews here today. Of course, a man down in the commentary booth. We have to make some sacrifices, but it's not the end of the world. We'll be back, I'm sure, very soon with the interviews and with the full stream. So thank you everybody for watching. This has been the Coleslaw Cup. I've been Will_Ans, and have a great rest of your night.